Greetings, students. Today I'm going to be giving you some information as an introduction to communications engineering in the capstone ECE 441, 442, 443. And this presentation will also lay down some basic foundations for communications and engineering no matter what course you might be in. First off, some of the topics I'll cover in this presentation. I'll explain why it's important to focus on communication as an engineer, what counts as professional communication, we'll be discussing that, the 5 stages of communication in engineering, I'm going to be introducing those, and then finally I'll have a discussion about how the 5 stages can actually serve you and your purposes. So why would it be important as an engineer to focus on communication? It might seem like just totally beside the point, right? It's not technical, it's not design. Why would communication be important? I like this little cartoon because it shows a really important point about why communication can be important for everyone. It's Chewbacca, right? After Star Wars, Chewbacca struggles to find work, poor communication skills. Okay. So whatever you hope to accomplish, you're going to need communication to do that. You're going to need to figure out how to communicate effectively with your coworkers, your colleagues, your managers, your stakeholders, your reviewers, evaluators, not just one time, but all the time. Research shows that engineers value communication specifically that is objective, clear, and precise. So finding out how to create communications, that's documents, presentations, videos that are objective, clear, and precise is going to help you professionally to communicate effectively and to present yourself as a professional engineer. So some of the different varieties of technical communication or engineering communication. Really, communication can mean, the definition of communication can be just anything that conveys meaning, right? Any kind of message that conveys meaning from a sender to a receiver. That is a communication. In engineering, we like to think of communications as a potential transaction, or once they're completed, as some kind of transaction that gives information for a specific purpose so that an action can be accomplished, something can be done. Every technical contribution has had communication as one of its components, has had effective communication. If the technical contribution was important, then there had to have been a communication component that was successful and effective somewhere along the way or all throughout the process. Some examples of types of communication, technical communication, and specifically in engineering, are progress memos, emails, cover letters, technical reports of all varieties, project descriptions. You might have proposals like grant proposals, project proposals, specification documents or requirements documents, posters like expo posters, conference posters, elevator pitches, right, for potential publicity, and then any kind of presentation would be considered communication, as well as blog posts, and the list goes on, of course, right? Twitter, it's communication. So the 5 stages of communication. Pre-drafting comes first. Pre-drafting determines requirements of communication tasks. So this includes research. It includes perhaps idea mapping, drawing an outline, a variety of ways that work best for you and that meet your drafting needs. But it's important not to think of this stage as when you haven't gotten started yet. Okay, the idea of the 5 stages of communication that I'm presenting here, it's all part of the process. Pre-drafting is indispensable. So you're starting in the pre-drafting phase. Some engineers have a conception that they really haven't started their project until they start on the technical side of the project, and they start perhaps building something. But that is a misconception, because if the pre-work hasn't been done correctly, then the project is going to fall apart. It's not going to be effective. It's not going to have a focus, and it's likely not going to work in the overall picture. So this pre-drafting idea of the thought that goes into the composition, whether it be a document or an oral or visual composition piece, is extremely important. Then comes the drafting phase. In the drafting phase, you might have some rough ideas of what you want to, or the way you want to present the message to your audience, but it's in no way a finished or polished version. It's getting something down on paper or getting some content that you can then mold and work with, kind of like an artist's lump of clay. Right? You've got some content that you can begin to shape, but it's not in its final form yet. Revision is when you are taking chunks, you're doing some substantive changes to your draft. You might be reorganizing, putting in content, putting in research, taking stuff out. So this is big changes. In the editing process, you've got the organization, you've got the large parts more or less figured out, but this is about checking on the sentence level clarity, checking on the flow of all the components, and making sure that everything is linked and that the reader can indeed easily navigate through a document, for example, and find what he or she needs. The proofreading stage is putting that final polish on everything, and this is when you've got everything pretty much how you want it, so now you can start looking more closely at things like punctuation and spelling, because you're not going to make changes to what the word is. It's time to figure out how to spell it correctly. Finally, I want to give you some advice about how you can make these 5 stages serve you. How can you make them work for you? Mark Twain said, "The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and lightning bug." And he was onto something there. Obviously, there's a big difference between lightning and a lightning bug, but there's not that much difference in the words. Or is there? There's a big difference, isn't there? So pinpointing the exact right word that you want to use and the precision of the term is going to be extremely helpful to you in communicating exactly what you want to say. So would you use all 5 stages to write an email? That's a question that I pose to you. I've asked this question in classes and I've gotten a response, no. Why would I? It's just a short email. Why in the world would I need to go through 5 stages, go through this long process just to write an email? The answer is, yes, you do need to use the 5 stages in an email, but it doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out process. It could simply be thinking about what you're going to write. Hopefully you think about what you're going to write before you write it. You don't just open up an email window and start spouting off things. You think about what you're going to write before you write it. Then you write it, right? Then you might decide to, oh, you forgot to add something in. The organization doesn't make sense. You want to change a paragraph around. That's revision. After that, of course, you need to also edit it and proofread it. And so going through the 5 stages in any piece of writing, including an email, is certainly advisable. What about visual and oral communication, like presentations or speeches? Well, think about it, of course. Once again, you're going to need to think about and research what you're going to say and how you're going to say it before you get started actually putting it together. You're going to need to put it together, revise it, and then you're going to need to edit it, and you're going to need to proofread it too. So why not just get on with it, right? You know how to talk. You can just say what you have to say and not worry about effective communication, because after all, you're an engineer, you have important skills. Why would you need to worry about communication? Well, as amazing as your technical skills may be, without the ability to express what it is you're able to do and what you have done to audiences who matter, you're not going to be able to complete your goals or accomplish your goals, because we all need help from others to realize our final goals. All right, that's all I have for you in this presentation. I hope it was helpful. Good luck with your communications.